Hi, you're listening to Every Scar Tells a Story with Christina and Alejandra, the founders of Estes Beauty, the leading brand of luxury skincare for scars. When we started this brand, we were deeply moved by the stories people shared with us. Stories of vulnerability, resilience, healing, and strength.
These stories changed us, and we know they have the power to help others too. We created this podcast to turn those stories into something bigger, into something healing. Thanks for being here.
Hello, everyone. We are so excited to be joined today by Brianna Raridon. She is a mom, an advocate, and a 16-time melanoma survivor. Today, she uses her story to raise awareness about prevention, early detection, and thriving beyond survival on her Instagram account, The Melahomie. Welcome, Brianna. We are so happy to have you here today. We cannot wait to hear your story. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We're really excited. Before we dive into your scar story, which is really just such an inspiring and impressive and powerful story, we like to lay a little background.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning. What was life like before you were diagnosed?
Yeah, thank you. So I grew up in Texas, just outside of Austin, and just like growing up in general was super active. Being in Texas, so warm here, almost year round. And so you really get to spend a lot of time outdoors. I participated in sports, was in cheerleading, just always outside. And summer times always involved swimming and spending time with friends at the pool in the sun. Unfortunately, growing up, I just didn't learn a whole lot about sun safety. Wearing sunscreen is not something that any of us did. And I think about years leading up to my diagnosis, even back in high school, it was kind of like the Laguna Beach, Chris Hilton era where
Yeah.
everyone wanted to be tan. And that's what all my friends were doing. And I really leaned into that. I thought that a tan made me look healthy and confident. And I wanted to do what they were doing and look the way my friends looked also. So, no one wore sunscreen. In fact, I'm pretty sure that like my mom probably let me put baby oil on my skin growing up. And now we know that that's terrible for our skin. Just wasn't educated in that area, and that's kind of what was trending and what I did.
For that time so clearly, because first of all, like
Agreed.
sun protection was not as big of an issue as it is today. It just wasn't. I definitely would use the tanning oil. Do you remember that banana
Yes.
boat? The coconut smell, like it came in a brown bottle, and you're like, I hope my skin turns this color.
Yeah. SPF 4, I think it was.
Sunscreen was to avoid a burn, like an immediate burn with acute pain. No one ever talked about skin cancer growing up. Honestly, I don't remember it at all. And I don't tan, and I still dedicated many summers to trying to get a tan, and I would just burn and peel. So there's no guilt here. It was a different time in the world.
It really was. We didn't know. And it would be so easy for me to try to place blame on, I don't know, society or my parents or wishing that something would have been different and that I would have known. But that's just how it was. No one knew and no one really proactively protected our skin. We just wanted to be tan, and it really does cause damage that we're unaware of and we don't see right away. You don't even have to burn to sustain that damage. It just accumulates over time and it's there.
It's long-term damage, which is the scariest kind. So you're in high school, you're tanning. Did I get this right? Did you work at a tanning salon?
Yes, I did, which is so shameful.
So I'm sorry I brought it up, but I think it's part of the story. Like you were
It is.
in tanning culture, full throttle.
1,000%. And I just thought, okay, I can work at the tanning salon. They paid well. It was fun. And I got to tan for free. So,
And you're a cheerleader in Texas.
yeah,
You
it's
have to be tan. Sorry.
yes,
I'm
there
sorry.
was
There's
a
no way
look.
around it.
I know. There was totally early 2000s. There was a look, I will admit. We just wanted to meet that look and be tan, have the blonde highlights or whatever was trending.
We've come so far.
So your full tanning culture, at what point in your life did you learn about melanoma and skin cancer and then experience it for yourself?
Yeah. So at that stage in my life, even after graduated from high school, moved away to college, that culture remained. I was hanging out with friends at the pool at our apartment, or Honestly, a lot of time was spent walking on campus. I went to school at Texas A&M, and it's a massive campus, and we just walk to class. At the end of the day, you would have walked miles, and I wasn't putting on sunscreen before I went to class. So
Mhm.
those trends continued. I continued to spend time out in the sun without protection, without knowing that I needed to be protecting my skin daily. Um, and I learned that something needed to change or that melanoma existed or I needed to be proactive. That was not until I was home for Christmas break. My sister, my oldest sister, had actually been diagnosed the year before. I did not know how serious melanoma was. In fact, looking back, I don't even remember like thinking much about her diagnosis. Like, she has melanoma, you get it cut out, no big deal, you move on. And I was home on break. She was home as well visiting, and I had a spot on my arm. I thought it was a mosquito bite. And I just thought to myself, like, oh, this mosquito bite will not heal. I was itching it. I had like scratched it raw, actually. And she had encouraged me, like, you have got to go see a dermatologist and get that checked out. Didn't want to do it. I was 20 years old and I just didn't want to go to the
Yeah.
doctor at all. Right.
I'm
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah, I'm busy. I want to like spend break with my friends, do some other things. And I finally decided to go in. And at the time I went into like just my regular GP. I didn't even go see a dermatologist, like a board certified dermatologist. And they confirmed that, yes, we need to take a biopsy. That was the first time that I even learned what a punch biopsy was. And they told me about like the different they use and that it would require a couple stitches probably. And I opted out, like thinking back, that is so wild to me that I told them, no, I don't want this biopsy done because at this point I've had countless. There's nothing anymore. But that would have been my first biopsy. And I told them I didn't want to do it. I was scared for the shot because they numb it with like local anesthetic. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have the scar. And I left. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this today.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. Hindsight's always 2020. Little scar is nothing compared to like what could happen.
And that's why when I think back on that, I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, just take the little scar. It's going to heal. It'll be fine. But I did not want to do it. So I went home. I think I went back to school, went back to classes, and it
Are
would,
you still itching at this point?
yeah, like come and go. So like it would itch for a little while and then start to heal. It wouldn't bother me. And then maybe a month or two later, I'm like, gosh, this spot still itches. And I'm like, this can't be a bug bite. I had thought
Yeah.
of everything, but I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Eventually, I want to say it was like, not exactly, but I think it was like 6 to 9 months, maybe closer to a year, had come and gone. And I decided, okay,
Yeah.
it's time to go back and complete the biopsy and see a real dermatologist and check this out.
Can I ask a question just for the listeners? Like, did it look like a bug bite or was it like a brown? Did it look like a mole? Like, what did it look like? Because when we
Yeah.
think of skin cancer, I feel like we think of these like scary, ugly, like black moles that are enormous. And like, that's not what it always looks like, right?
Exactly, yeah, and that's exactly what happened. It was not. It was like I wish I something I could show you, but the tiniest little freckle. I mean, not a scary mole. It wasn't raised. Like it was just a my regular skin with a tiny little brown freckle. It was so small. That's why I don't think it was concerning to me because I had thought the same as you, like, oh, melanoma or skin cancer, that's like this big, ugly, scary looking thing. And it wasn't. It was when I would scratch it, then, like, it would become irritated or red, but other than that, it just looked like a normal freckle, and it itched.
Wow.
What year in college were you at this point?
So, I was 20, I guess I was, like, a sophomore, and
Okay.
I graduated a year early, so I could have been considered a junior at that time, but I know I was 20 because it was just before my 21st birthday, and made that appointment, went in to see the dermatologist. I actually got my very first full body skin check done that day, which I had never had before.
Can we pause on that for a second? Were you uncomfortable? Because I feel like your first full body scan it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is. Yes. It can be very uncomfortable and more so because at the time I didn't know what to expect. Like I was walking in and I knew they told me you were gonna check my entire body, but you don't know like at the time I'd never even gone to see a lot of doctors. I had had pretty good health up
Yeah.
to that point. So I remember even thinking like, do I put the robe on with the opening to the front or the back? And
Mm-hmm.
do you take your bra off, your underwear? I'm like, what do I do? No. So it's an uncomfortable situation. And because you're young, right? I don't know what to expect. You're fully undressed and someone's going to look you over, and that can be uncomfortable. Knowing now how important that is for everyone to do, I hate that I was hesitant at all. But yes, that is the case for so many people that they don't know what to expect, or maybe they just don't feel comfortable in that situation, and they ultimately don't get a skin check because of that.
That's such a good point, Alejandra. I think that's something that probably needs to be talked about even more. What to expect when you're going into a skin check. Don't let this be what deters you. And if you go into any doctor's appointment mentally prepared, it makes it so much easier. Sometimes it's the anticipation and fear that causes so much anxiety.
Brianna, could you give us kind of the play by play the first time you had to have a skin check? So they hand you a little robe and they leave you alone in the room, and like, did you take off your underwear or did you leave it on? Like,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you go in, get the robe, you're going to get completely undressed. They will tell you that you can keep your underwear on. My dermatologist is, as all board certified dermatologists are probably doing, maybe if they need to see underneath that area, they can just lift it. Some of the tips they give are like not having any fingernail polish on your nails because you can get melanoma in your nail bed. You shouldn't go with any makeup on. That way they can see your skin without any like foundation or anything that could be hiding something that is concerning. And they'll start at the top of your body and work all the way down. So they'll sit there and like pick through your hair to see your scalp.
Yeah.
Melanomas can hide in there, like behind your ears, inside your ears, and then they just work their way down through every body part. And that's what you should honestly be doing at home as well. Like in between dermatology appointments or skin checks, I do a self check at home. You mentioned that we should talk about this more. On my website, which is melahomie.com, I put together like a little PDF of what people can expect at their first skin check. And I think that's so important that you are prepared and you know what to expect, and you'll just have like a better experience overall. Really.
Okay, so you go to your first skin check, full body. It's full body plus they're looking at the spot that you have not yet had biopsied.
Exactly. And they actually ended up finding 3 spots that needed to be biopsied during that appointment. And so we moved forward with those biopsies. I went to back to school, and then I received a phone call about a week later.
wait, before you get there, because you were worried about the biopsy being painful and the injection. And do you remember? Because you had to have three then. Was there any fear? Were you worried when they said we have to do three biopsies? Were you like, oh no, three scars? Like what kind of went through your head at that point?
I was worried, yes. I felt the same fear that I had before, like, I don't wanna get these shots. The difference that time is that my mom had come with me, which feels so like, "Oh, my mommy's with me," but
This helps. No,
there's that
it makes
support,
such a difference.
1,000%, and, like, just having someone there with me, it felt doable this time around. I felt like, "I can do this." I felt like, I don't wanna say that the GP didn't know what they were talking about, but, like, okay, now I'm a
Right.
board certified dermatologist. I got this full skin check done, and there's these 3 spots. They need to be checked. There's a concern. I need to do this. And so something clicked in my brain that I was willing that day. I'm okay, let's move forward. We need to get this looked at, especially because there was a family history already.
Yeah. And did you need stitches on all the biopsies?
So no, this dermatologist was able to do what they call a shave biopsy instead. And they just take, yeah, a little razor, shave off like the very, very top layer of your skin. Does not require any stitches. You obviously do have to get numbed up with the lidocaine or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
it was okay. Like a few shots, I was all right. I survived, and now I'm a pro at them. At the time, that felt very monumental.
Yes.
A week goes by. Did it go out of your mind after you left the office? Were you like, okay, it's over?
Yes, because it's like one of those things where you think this will never happen to me. Like I know that I was told there were dangers in tanning. I know I had heard, that melanoma can run in families or there's an increased risk if you have a family history. And I don't want to say that I didn't take it seriously. I just think I thought that won't happen to me. Skin cancer is something that happens when you're in your 70s and 80s and you've spent a lifetime in the sun, and this just isn't something that will happen to me. Even with my sister being diagnosed the year before, I still thought, that was her. It
I
won't
get it.
happen to me.
Yeah.
So I really did like push it out of my head, and I was expecting them to call and say, "Oh, it was nothing. It was benign." Like I really didn't think it through that, "Oh, what will I feel or what will it be like if they do call and say that it is something?" That will be I don't know what I thought. I didn't feel it would be terrifying. I didn't think that I would be upset. It didn't feel like something big. It just felt like, "Oh, even if it is melanoma or it's skin cancer, I'll do what my sister did. I'll just have it cut out. No big deal. I'll
Yeah.
cut it out. I'll move on." Simple, right? Like, didn't ever get it through my head or realize that it could be bigger than that.
Think that's so common, that way of thinking, especially when you're in your 20s, because it's a different stage of life where you just feel invincible. And when you end up getting a diagnosis that's really heavy, it's so unexpected. And unfortunately, those kinds of diagnoses are happening more and more to younger people. But it's so easy to be like, oh, at this nothing happens to you at this age.
Percent. You feel invincible. You don't think it will happen to you. And that's exactly how you said it, the reality for so many young people. And so many more young people are being diagnosed with skin cancer and with melanoma. I hope that is kind of why I got into advocacy or sharing my story, because I want to be a resource that people can relate to and realize, no, it's not just for people who are older. It can happen to you. And it's happened to so many others who are super young. So, yeah, I hate seeing it.
Take us back. You're
Yeah.
walking on campus, you get a phone
Yeah,
call.
exactly. I couldn't tell you, like, what time of day it was, where I was even standing, honestly. Like, I don't remember those details, and I think what that speaks back to is it was not like, they called and it just was not this monumental moment, which sounds so weird because even though you don't expect to be told that you have cancer in your early 20s, it wasn't this life-changing moment for me. It wasn't like you hear some people say like, "Oh my goodness, it was surreal, like this surreal moment," or "It was so upsetting," or "It was life-changing," and that just didn't happen for me. And I know that it happens to probably the majority of people because that is a crazy phone call to get no matter how old you are. But in that moment, I think because I was so young and because of what I had seen my sister do, it just truly wasn't. It was not upsetting to me. It wasn't life changing. I really thought, okay, this sucks, but I'll just go get it cut out and it's going to be okay. She is okay. So it's not a big deal.
Did they use the C word or did they just call it melanoma? Do you remember?
Yeah, that's a really great question because I honestly think that that's also why I didn't take it as serious. It was such a nonchalant phone call that they said, "You have melanoma." And I remember them telling me like the characteristics of it, like they'll tell you the staging or they'll tell you different things, like the depth of the melanoma, etc. I couldn't tell you a single one of those things. I wasn't even listening. I just remember you have melanoma and going into what would happen next, which was
Mhm.
in-office procedure. We'll get you in, be less than 30 minutes, get you numbed up, cut it out. There'll be a small incision and that will heal over the about 2 weeks. You'll come in and get your stitches removed. And it all just sounded so, I don't want to say easy, but like it was okay. This was so routine. Like, oh, no big deal. You got melanoma, we'll cut it out. And that's honestly another really big misconception in the skin cancer community is that, oh, it's just skin cancer. Like that's such an easy cancer to just cut it out and move forward with. Luckily, in my case, or many of them can be, but it's so much more than that. I have since learned it's so much more than that mentally, physically, emotionally. It's so much more
Yeah.
than just skin cancer.
Tell us what proceeds after this first call. I take it you went to go get the procedures done.
Yeah. What's the timeline like? Is there urgency? Are they like come in next week
Yeah,
or you
I
can
think they
come
have
in a year? Like
availability. Like
how
usually they want you in sooner than later, right? It is melanoma and it can be growing, but they weren't too concerned. I think I had availability the next week. Maybe it was 1 or 2 weeks actually. But I do know, like, I didn't wait months to have it done. It was pretty quick turnaround. Got back in there. My mom came down again and took me to the doctor for my procedure. Probably took about an hour and was headed home, was all bandaged up. And I think I spent the rest of the day like probably watching movies and just relaxing,
were you awake for the procedures?
awake the whole
Yeah.
time. Yeah, they just did local anesthetic. It has
Mhm.
been the case with all of my excisions, but at the time, I didn't know any different, so I didn't know that there's, like, various ways depending on the doctor who's doing it. But, yeah, I was fully awake, quick in the office, and headed back home.
Doing it, are you thinking about anything, or are you feeling any, I don't know, any fear, or do you feel what they're doing at all? Like,
Yeah,
kinda what was that?
I mean, physically, yes, you can feel what they're doing. You're numb, so you don't feel pain. However, you can feel, like, some movement or maybe some pressure. That will mess with your head a little bit just because I'm a little squeamish, and so to be awake and
Yeah.
be, like, over here, I don't even
I
like
think about it.
Yeah,
Could you see what they were doing? Were you watching?
I turned my head because I did not wanna look.
I do that too.
Yeah. And one was,
Mhm.
like, on my back, obviously couldn't see that one, but, yeah, the one thing that I wanna point out that I wish they would have done and they didn't do is take that opportunity to educate me. I didn't leave there knowing, "What should I do now?" Like, I knew how to
Yeah.
help with my recovery and the healing of the excisions, but they didn't tell me anything about how to proactively protect myself moving forward. No one told me, "Hey, you should be wearing sunscreen every day," or "You don't wanna be out spending hours in the sun unprotected." They didn't tell me anything when it came to actual skin cancer. I wasn't provided any resources, so I left, went home and healed. In fact, I do have one memory. I It was the night that I met my husband, actually. I was working, like, some promotions in Houston on the weekends, and at the time, he was a college basketball coach, and he'd come down for the Final Four championship weekend in Houston. We randomly met at a bar, but I remember going out after work with friends, when I met him, and I still had the stitches in my arm. I had taken off the bandages. I didn't really know how to care for myself. I had this long sleeve, like, super tight dress on because I was going to clubbing. I remember the stitches pulling in my dress all night long, and I always laugh at that, like, what a college girl thing to do, like, here I'm
Mhm.
recovering from this surgery, and I'm like, "No, let's go to the bars," and, I've got this dress pulling on the stitches, like, what was I
We've all
My
been there.
gosh.
Yeah, during that time I healed and then life just kind of did go on. I wanted it to go on and I kept doing the same thing that I had always done. I did stop tanning in a tanning bed, but I remember spending time hanging out with friends at the pool and still walking on campus all day long every day and was not putting sunscreen on. I thought at the time that my melanoma was due to me tanning in the tanning bed. I didn't realize that
Mm.
a lot of it could also be just the constant daily UV exposure that you have from the sun, not just tanning beds. So I cut out the tanning, but it really didn't improve on my habits.
Did you have any feelings about the scars left from the melanoma
I
removals?
did. They had instructed me to try to use like a silicone scar sheet or a strip for a while. I did that. I tried like all different scar creams on the market. I really did. I tried everything.
Mm.
One of them was on my lower back. It was kind of like out of sight, out of mind. The one that bothered me though was the one that was on my arm because I could see it. And so I was very concerned about that one. I do remember doing the scar creams and the silicone strip, trying to erase that. At the time, I just wanted
Mhm.
to move
Mhm.
on and I didn't like that. Not a lot of other
Yeah.
people were healing from surgery on their arm and
Yeah.
I just wanted it erased.
Mhm. Also been there.
Yeah. Mhm.
If you're listening to this podcast, you may have a scar of your own or know somebody struggling with theirs. At Estes Beauty, we believe that every scar tells a story and that your healing deserves the very best care. That's why we created the first luxury skincare brand designed specifically for scars.
Our 3-step ritual, the morning massage cleanser, daily dose serum, and sleep salve overnight mask brightens, softens, and soothes scars while turning recovery into an act of self-care.
Your scars don't have to look or feel uncomfortable anymore. Try our products at estasbeauty.com. That's ESTAS beauty.com.
As we like to say, real healing leads to real results.
Okay, you're living life back to normal. You got
Yeah.
everything removed.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
gone.
Yep, graduated. I moved to Chicago to start my first job. Shortly after that, like a year later, I moved out to California for some time. And don't even think I had been back to a dermatologist, honestly. I don't know if they told me that I needed to come back or if I just chose not to go. I don't remember anyone saying, hey, you need to come back every 3 months or 6 months. Like, I just thought, okay, this was found on my body. It's gone. And I think in my head, I thought, oh, well, this took 20 years for me to get here and get melanoma. So it'll be another 20 years before it happens to me.
Oh my gosh. When did it happen again? Because we know that it happened again.
Yes, exactly. So the second one, then I remember being back in California, and I remember being hesitant, like, "Ugh, I'm gonna have to find a new dermatologist, find someone local, figure all of that out." But I made that happen, went to that appointment. I don't even remember how many biopsies we took, but it was a lot. I remember I had gone in for a couple appointments. I think they were like 6 months apart, did some biopsies. It all looked good. They had asked me to come back in 6 months. So I did at the time. And then we had found another melanoma. And that cycle kind of continued. And I feel like with each diagnosis, I would learn more. I learned more from that dermatologist. And then, I was only in California for a year. So shortly after that, I moved back to Chicago. And then I got married and started having babies. And then I moved to Texas very quickly after that. And it was there that I started going to the same dermatologist that my sister, who had had melanoma, went to. And she was very skilled, very knowledgeable. I've learned so much. I'm so thankful for her because she saved my life so many times, I feel like. And, with that, I was at that time, I was having my kids. So they're spaced about 2 years apart, each of them. So I feel like I was pregnant for a good 8 year span, six. But every year, or every pregnancy rather, about 1 year postpartum, my dermatologist was recognizing that it was triggering a new melanoma, and it was usually a big one. So a lot of my melanomas were stage 0, or in situ is what they call it. And my furthest stage melanoma is stage 1B. It seemed that, like, with every pregnancy, a year postpartum, almost to the dot, I would then have another stage 1A. And then this last pregnancy had the stage 1B, but it was always 1 year postpartum. And she suspects that maybe when I stopped breastfeeding, you have a bunch of hormonal changes around, and that maybe that could have triggered something in my skin, or just changing hormones, that then the melanomas changed.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Had she seen that before?
There is some scientific studies behind it. There's not a direct correlation that pregnancy in any way, or changing pregnancy hormones, causes melanoma. But they do recognize that changing hormones in your body can do a lot of crazy things,
Yeah.
including changes to your skin. And so maybe these were melanomas that were already on their way, but it could have accelerated things or changed their characteristics. So she does feel very strongly that those pregnancy hormones, yeah, it made a difference.
Where, because this has happened so many times, or is it in a certain parts of your body, or like where are
No,
they?
it's truly all over. I've had melanoma on my ankles, up my legs, like on my knees, on the outside of my legs, lower back. I think I have like 6 different melanoma scars on my back, like from top to bottom, just random spots, arm. And then it wasn't until this last fall, so it's only been a year. I was diagnosed in October of 2024 with stage 1B, and that one was right behind my ear. That one was interesting because it's a long story, but I had had a childhood mole there that had been removed when I was about 10 years old, and it was benign. So I guess I shouldn't say that that was my first dermatologist appointment. It's just the first one that I remember. But my mom took me in, and they just removed it. They must have been concerned. I wanted it gone because if I put on sunglasses, it would rub, or a head bake.
It was like big.
Yeah, it was like it bothered me enough where it felt irritated, and it was benign. So then whenever you fast forward again to fall of 2024, my dermatologist notices a new mole behind my ear. And I told her, "Oh, I had a childhood mole taken off there when I was really young." And she said, "Well, it's not uncommon years later, if you've had a childhood mole, for it to actually come back." And so she said, "Let's watch this." And then they take a picture of it, make notes of its size and color, everything else that they note in their files. And then she's like, "Okay, come back in 3 months and we'll take a second look at it." And that's normal. If there's like a concerning spot, you can't biopsy everything because I would just constantly be getting biopsies, you know? So we track a lot of things. I do something called mole mapping. So every time you go in and you can stand in front of this machine naked and they take photos of all of the moles on your body, top to bottom. And it allows your dermatologist to reference those photos when they do your skin check. So she can like almost microscopically zoom in and see, okay, has this changed from what it was before? I was supposed to go in for my 3-month checkup and life happened. I think one of my kids got sick and I called. I did let them know, like, hey, I need to come back in for my 3-month follow up. And they said, well, her availability, like, she doesn't have anything for another couple of months. So I booked that out for a couple months later. And I told them, hey, if you have any cancellations, give me a call. I'd love to get in sooner because I'm on this 3-month schedule. I can't tell you how much I regret not pushing and saying, "This is really important. She's watching something that's concerning. I need to come in," because I know that they would have contacted her and she could have said, "Yeah, have her come in during my lab hours."
Mhm.
There
Right.
could have been an exception made, and I didn't. Shame on me. So it's now been 6 months since that appointment, and I go back in for my normal skin check, and she instantly saw that spot behind my ear, and she's like, "Yeah, it's changed." It had grown and, it looked more like what you would think a scary melanoma would look like. It
Mm.
was, like, about the size of a pencil eraser, so it was a little larger than one like, it wasn't just a pinprick like all my other little
Mm-hmm.
was light brown, but it was concerning to her enough. She's like, "Okay, we gotta take this off right away." And I didn't like the look of it, so I'm like, "Yeah, let's get rid
Yeah.
of it. I don't want it on there anymore." So they send it away. A few days later, she called and said that it was stage 1B melanoma, but there's a lot more to this story.
What does it mean? What does 1B mean? What does that mean?
Yeah, so it means that the size of the melanoma, it's based off of size, is the easiest way to put it. So it had grown larger than my previous melanomas had. So it was a stage 1B diagnosis. It would continue to, like, the larger they get, then they would say, okay, stage 2A or 2B, et cetera. It's just based off of certain characteristics of the melanoma. The larger it is in size, it's ulcerized or the mitotic rate, which is how quickly it's growing. There's just a lot of different characteristics that they view, and then they make a diagnosis based off of those characteristics. At the time, they hadn't done any testing, so they don't know if it's spread anywhere else in my body. That initial diagnosis was stage 1B, and she had always done all of my melanoma excisions in her office. She just had her nurse there by her side. I was completely awake, just like my very first one. That was what I was accustomed to and I thought was normal. She let me know that this one was going to require a surgical oncologist. I was going to have to go meet this new oncologist downtown. He was very skilled. He had trained at MD Anderson, and this was a little bit beyond what she could do in the office. So I was going to need to go see a new doctor.
That's always scary.
Mm.
That feels like a big blow.
It was, yeah. It was scary, and I don't know if it was because it was a further stage diagnosis or because she told me I was gonna have this new doctor. It also required things like a CT scan, and she told me I was gonna have to have this other procedure done, which is a sentinel lymph node biopsy, where they essentially remove any of the lymph nodes that you learn your body drains to from the CT scan, move those lymph nodes to test them, make sure we really dissect them and make sure that the melanoma hasn't spread into those lymph nodes. So all of this information was brand new to me. I was a pro at these early stage melanomas that I had had at
Mm.
this point that I was then like having to learn this whole new world of procedures and what treatment could look like, et cetera. And I think that is really what made me open my eyes. And I had learned so much up to that point, but that made me dive head into what else can I learn. I just looked into everything from preventative measures to what treatment could look like to all the things about melanoma. And I learned a lot, yeah, from that diagnosis.
So you went into the oncologist. This is a much bigger surgery. What happened after that procedure? What did your incision look like? How did it feel?
So, with it being behind my ear, I couldn't even see. Like, I was so bandaged up. It's like the whole side of my head was bandaged. And I
Yeah, that's a tricky spot.
Yes, and I didn't know what to expect. I remember being very upset that they had to shave, like, a chunk of my hair off under here, like, how vain is that? But I'm like, "Oh my god, my hair, I'm gonna have to regrow my hair."
Yeah,
And it's only this
I
one
get
little
it.
tiny spot, but that was, like, big to me.
Mhm.
I can't remember how many days after the procedure I was able to take the bandage off, but my sister who had melanoma, the first one, by this time, my dad had been diagnosed and my second sister had been diagnosed by this point in time. So over those, 15 years, it had truly become like a family affair. And
Wow.
I took the bandage off. My sister was here. She helped me like get it. It was all tangled up, like taped to my hair. And I was shocked because I was very accustomed to seeing the scars or the stitches from the previous surgeries, but this one was huge. It ran like from like that middle point of my head all the way down, almost to like down here on my neck. And so I don't know, 6 inches or so. It was huge. At least to me, it felt really big. And this whole side of my head was, like, turning black and blue, like, green with bruising and
Mhm.
no stitches. I felt and my hair missing, like, I felt like Frankenstein. I
Yeah.
cried. I've never cried seeing my stitches before, and I just broke down crying. I thought, "My god, like, I know I'll heal from this," but it
Mhm.
just messed with me so much mentally. It felt so serious, and you don't even have, results yet at that time. I
Yeah.
struggled with, like,
Gosh.
oh my god, like, this looks so serious, and I don't know, has it spread to my lymph nodes? Is it in my blood? Is it somewhere else?
Oh my gosh, I felt that. Yeah, I felt everything you were saying really viscerally. When you saw that, and obviously it's like a wound with like how many stitches did you have? Like, do you even know?
At the time, I remember counting, now I couldn't tell you. I mean, it was gruesome looking, it was a lot. If I had to guess, it had to have been close to 30 or more stitches. That was, like, frightening to see or shocking, and then combined with not knowing what I would learn all of this,
Right.
it was a lot to take in, and I really think that by far was the hardest one for me to recover from, like, physically, but then also mentally. I was not prepared for that, and I think that part of that healing is why I started my Instagram account, the Melahomie, is just because I needed something, I needed some outlet. I was very blessed that I had 2 sisters and a dad. It's so weird to say I'm blessed that they had melanoma, but they got it. Like, they truly
Yeah.
understood what I had been through. They knew what these procedures or surgeries were like. They knew what the recovery was like, and I am blessed that I had someone so close to me that I could relate to or they could relate to me.
Yeah.
They had there to support me. But I needed something else. Like, it wasn't enough. I don't know that I was, like, sad, was I depressed? You're just, like, going through the stages of recovery and healing, and I decided, "Okay, I wanna connect with people who are going through this as well. I wanna find a community. I want to learn even more than what I now know now. I wanna see how other people are managing these feelings and how they're
Mhm.
managing these diagnoses. Are there any other people out there like me who've had melanoma so many times and it keeps returning?" So I just had a lot of questions, and at the same time, I wanted to be a resource to someone else. I felt like I had learned so much over the years, but not really at that first diagnosis. It took time. And I wanted to be a resource to others where, even if it was something like we discussed today, like what to expect at your first skin check, or just reminding people the importance of going in. And I wanted other people to feel like they're not alone. So that was part of my healing was
Yeah.
starting that Instagram account.
That's incredible. It's not the same, but I have type 1 diabetes, and we say, and I feel like a lot of sick people clubs say this, worst club, best members,
Yeah,
right? And there's something really special about having people who have been in your exact same place. And it's so commendable what you created and creating this community because it's so hard when you first find out, especially when you're young.
it is.
And you don't really want to hear it, and you don't want to be a sick person, and you don't want to be a part of that. Like you just want to live your life and be normal. And so that you're creating it's really incredible what you're doing, creating that community and some resources for people, right? So if there is a bug of curiosity, they might be able to find some answers.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, it's just been the biggest blessing to me because, again, even with having family or even like close friends who support me and understand, you can
Yeah.
truly relate to other people who have walked those same steps and who have gone through it, or maybe are dealing with it now and can support you through that. It's like support on a different level. I hope to be
Yeah.
that for others. And it's been such a blessing for myself because it's played a tremendous role in my healing.
Every Scar Tells a Story is our podcast. And so I want to hear a little bit about the healing journey of this scar and also the emotional side of it, because I think so much, we know that so much of our scars are so emotional, right? They usually come from a place of pain. I've not heard yet a scar story that comes from even a C-section hurts, as happy as you can be to have that child, it's still coming from physical pain. And so what was it like for you? Like, I'm assuming you slept on the other side, but, like, even your hair, like, could you cover it up, or was that even painful? What was
Yeah.
your recovery?
Yeah. So all of those things. Yes, it was very uncomfortable. It was by far, like, physically the hardest one to recover from. I sleep on my left-hand side, so I couldn't sleep on that side anymore. It was tricky. Like, I wear my hair up in a ponytail or a clip a lot of times. Couldn't do that because it would kind of pull things.
Yeah.
We joke now because I'm just very close with like dermatologist. And he's like, "Oh, you got a free facelift on one side. Like, I didn't get it on the other side."
Wait, can I, like, just how much skin do you think they took off? Because you had said that the melanoma was, like, the size of an eraser, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's not 6 inches. That's not even half an inch, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And they have to take really wide margins to ensure that they get every cell that could possibly be left behind. So they take really wide margins. I always describe it like the shape of a football. So if your melanoma is right here and it's this tiny little dot, they start up here and they go like this. And it's like the shape of a football and it just goes around. They cut that area and then they pull it together and stitch it. And that is what made this recovery so difficult. It was so tight. It had taken so much. I didn't have to do a skin graft or anything like that, but they had pulled my ear back to meet the other side where my hairline was. So if you can imagine, think about where the back of your ear is,
Yeah.
crevice, and then like where your hairline starts, it's
Yep.
farther in because they'd shaved mine off and they pulled all of that together. So it was just very, very tight, and I had a hard time, like, I hated fixing my hair, it was painful, like, the any type
Mm.
of movement, and it's
Yeah.
regrowing, like, if you look very closely, there's a chunk back here that's, like, regrowth,
Oh my goodness,
this
yeah.
thing, but
Sorry, I think I missed the timeline. When was that surgery?
yeah,
What
this
year
was
was
this
that?
past November, so almost 1 year.
Oh my gosh, that's so recent.
It is, yeah, that one was fresh, and what's crazy is that I've had additional melanomas since then. There was, like, this stretch of time where I know it's overwhelming to tell people, honestly, because it's just so many. I've had 16 of them now, but I'm recovering from this one in November. I have to go for these, like, 3-month appointments, and that put me back in January, and I go in January, they find more. We decide, like, let's just do a ton of biopsies. We did like 8 biopsies at that appointment, and they came back and it was 2 more melanomas. And then 4, there can also be spots that are called atypical. And these, it can be like mild, moderate, or severely atypical. And if it's mild, no problem. You got a biopsy and it's fine. It healed. But if it's moderate or severely atypical, they like
Mhm.
do an excision in the same fashion that you would get like a very early stage melanoma. So I've also had many of those that are severely or moderately atypical and have to be removed. So it was at that point where I think it was recovering from this stage 1B, super invasive, the sentinel lymph node biopsy, which was like an additional incision right here underneath my chin. You can't really see it because it's hidden under here, but super invasive. And then to be told, like, hey, you have more melanomas. And it was a lot. It felt like every single time I was going into the dermatologist, they were telling me,
Yeah.
you have melanoma again. And I'm like, it was at that point, I was feeling very overwhelmed. It's very emotional, like just all the time, all day long, scared,
Mhm.
worried,
So fair.
concerned. And I decided to transfer my care over to MD Anderson, even though I loved my dermatologist here in Austin, but it felt very overwhelming that it just kept coming back and so rapidly. And all the surgeries and all the biopsies, I'm like, that's enough. We got to go to
Yeah.
MD Anderson.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oof. So,
But yes, everything to go back to your original questions. Yes, it was very hard to recover from. Couldn't sleep on that side, couldn't put my hair up or do my hair like I normally would. And then all the while, over those months of recovery, having the additional surgeries that one of them or even two of them were stage 1A again. So it was like, again, pretty invasive still, not as invasive as the one behind my ear, but it was like a
yeah.
stretch of 6 months where I was like, what the heck is happening? Like, it's
Yeah.
all I could think about. It consumed my life because I was going from one appointment to the next. It would be like one appointment for the biopsy, 2 weeks later back for the surgery, 2 weeks later back to have the sutures removed, and then it'd be like maybe 5 or 6 weeks and you'd be back for that next follow-up and another round of this, and I'm like,
Oh my
I didn't
gosh.
think I could do it anymore. I'm like, well, I think the scariest part, if I could word it this way, is like the unknown. Is this what my future looks like? Is it always going to be like this? Like, there's so many questions that come up during that time. Like, what should I be doing differently? Is there some type of treatment I
Mm-hmm.
can look into? It's just a lot of unknowns, a lot of questions.
Do you have any scars that you'd be willing to show us?
Yeah. Goodness. I'm trying to think. Let me show you the one behind my ear just because I'm showing my
I mean, if you're okay, I would love to see it.
yeah, and tell me if when I turn, hopefully you can kind of see it back here.
Oh, yeah, I do see it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow.
kind of hard to see, but yeah, it runs up into here and then it comes down
Yep.
here to right about there. And then there's like a secondary scar underneath here as well from the
But you just touched it. A lot of times people can't even touch their scars. So, are you
well,
sleeping on that side now?
it's
What's your life like with your scar? What's
oh
it
my
like?
gosh. Well, this is where I might cry because I get emotional. I feel like my scars are just something that I wanted to hide. Sorry.
It's okay. I get it.
I know. I just wanted to hide them for so long. And also, like, I wanted to hide my melanoma. There wasn't a lot of people besides my family and my life who got it. They just didn't understand.
Yeah.
They were supportive, but they weren't going through these same struggles. And so I feel like I didn't
Mhm.
even want to talk about melanoma to my friends also. If any of them are watching this at some point, I love you all, but it's hard to talk about to your friends who can still like go live their lives out in the sun and they don't have to be constantly worried about the damage that's
Yep.
happening. Like, we love going to the lake, we love going to the pool, and I still do all those things. I don't ever want it to stop me from living my life, but I feel like it can be hard to see them not have to have that concern. So I wanted to hide my scars because it was a reminder of what I'd been through, what I was dealing with, what I would have to more than likely continue to deal with. And so I just didn't want to talk to them about it. I didn't want them to see it. I wanted to be like normal. I just wanted to be like everybody else. So I had tried all these different scar creams and products. And then I think Christina reached out to me. I'm just forever grateful because it was just so refreshing and like a breath of fresh air that there was this stranger essentially who was meeting brand new friend that like cared about hearing my story and what I had been, not only wanted to, or maybe had a solution for like how my scars would heal or look, but how they felt because the one behind my ear was just so painful. And, in time, I know that can change and, there's nerve regeneration that happens and it gets easier with time. But when we connected, I was pretty fresh out of that, maybe what was it? Maybe like 6 months out of my surgery. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was having a lot of pain, tightness, etc., all the things. And I remember thinking like, I'll give anything. I've tried every product on the market, but this Estes scar cream, like, what could it hurt? Like, but honestly feeling like I've tried everything. How could this be any different? I'm sure it's just going to feel and look like this forever. And then it didn't. And I'm just so happy because it does hurt a lot of days. I'll lay down at night sometimes. Sorry guys, but
It's
I'll
No
lay
okay.
worries.
down and it will hurt. And I get out of bed and I run to my bathroom. I keep the Estes scar cream right by my sink and I know that I can put it on there and it's like instant relief. And whatever you guys have created is just pure magic because it just makes the hugest difference in the little things, like the way I sleep, that tightness, putting my hair up in a bun, like whatever I want to do daily, it just truly helps with that pain and that tightness, and just like the way it feels. And of course, some of them are healing. Like this one I put on my hand. You probably haven't seen it
Yeah.
updated this one in a while, Christina, but
It looks so good.
this one was back from, I think it's either March or May of this year. So it's a newer scar and it's healing so
It
well.
looks so
Um,
good.
I'm just so thankful that, it's working, minimize like the look of the scars, but also the feeling of them. It just makes the biggest difference. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
No, Brianna, you know what? That hopelessness is something we hear over and over again, and we've felt ourselves, right? You're like, it's just, you get in this like horrible negative spiral of like, it's never going to feel better. It's never going to look better. I've tried all these things, nothing's making a difference. And it sounds silly because like you're alive, right? Like you're alive, you're recovering, but it feels like the end. It feels so hopeless. And I'm so grateful that it could make a difference for you. And the pain and the discomfort it's the worst. And at night, I mean, my scar is a C-section scar, but I remember just like trying to roll over and I couldn't roll over.
I just have to say, Brianna, I'm so happy that we have connected. And the fact that I feel like crying, the fact that we can help
Well, I
you
am
put
crying.
your hair up or like sleep comfortably. Like those are the kinds of things that just melt me a little bit that we can do to bring some comfort and relief.
Yeah.
That's why we created this. And we're just
No.
so grateful to be friends and to be able to help you in any way that we can. Your story is amazing. You're on a journey that is only going to keep going forward. You have so much that you can help so many with. Everything from the education that you provide to the solace and the comfort in hearing your story and how you've managed so much. We're just truly so grateful to have you a part of this community, part of the Estes family.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. I appreciate that. And I'm thankful to be here. I'm just, again, so thankful for the relief that it's provided me and the community that you have created, because I just felt like so impressed that, wow, this stranger wants to hear my story and how these scars are affecting me. And then there's like a solution and it's working. And I'm so happy and thankful for that. But, over these surgeries and these months, especially since this one, I feel like my own internal thoughts on my scars have shifted. Like it used to be something I wanted to hide or I wanted to just erase and get rid of. And I still struggle with days like that where I don't
Yeah.
want to have all these scars. I don't like how they look on my legs or this or that. Cause I'm in Texas. I want to wear shorts because it's hot all the time, whatever it might be. But my personal view on them, I guess, has changed. And I now see them like certain days I dare to say that they're beautiful. Like they are something that I don't want to say defines me, but it's something that has happened to me and that I've learned from and I've grown from and I've become stronger for. And it really is just part of my story. So
Yeah.
there's actually a couple of scars on my back. I'll just tell a quick story about this, that there's two of them that had to be done. My dermatologist asked, or maybe it was the surgical oncologist, but he's like, "Hey, I have one scar on this side that's like at an angle." He's like, "Do you want the other one to match, or do you want it to be like, I'm
That's
like, "Oh
cool.
gosh, I don't know. Like, what do I want my scars to look like?" So at the time, I thought, well, like the more symmetrical, maybe the better looking. So I had him
Mhm.
get symmetrical, and it wasn't until after he completed that surgery that I came home and my mom was here helping with my kids while I recovered, and she saw them and she said, "Oh my gosh, it looks like it's marking where your angel wings will be one day." And that like shifted my mindset. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're beautiful. Like I love these scars." So if I had to pick a favorite scar, it would be those two because those are my angel wings.
You've shown me pictures of those scars, and I have to say they are so beautiful and actually
It's
angelic. Like
amazing.
they definitely, you have two little angel wings on your
Yeah.
back, and I dare I say that those scars have saved your life, and you are one of the strongest women I know, and every single scar on your body is proof of that. So we all have days that we struggle with our scars, but if that ever serves as a reminder,
Yeah.
they are proof of how incredibly strong you are and what you've overcome.
Yeah.
Brianna, thank you for being here
Yes.
today. Thank you for being so
Thank you.
open. Thank you for sharing so much. Thank you for teaching us. We learned a lot today.
We
Um,
did.
this has been an incredible story. I know everyone listening is probably in tears.
and wants to
And
ask so many. Honestly, there's like so many more questions I want to ask you, but we're totally over time. And so I'd kind of like to start something new on our podcast. But if people have questions, like, would you be open
Yeah.
to
yeah, 1000%.
us getting those questions to you and
I'm
maybe we
an
answer?
open book.
We should do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that might be a good thing to start. If you think of any questions while you're listening to these stories, we can always do follow-ups. But we do like to try to end things because these stories can be heavy and emotional. We like to end things with a lighter note, something that we can give the audience to spark a little joy in their life, help them throughout their journey, whatever that may be at this moment. And we like to ask you a question that our audience can like take for themselves and maybe go use on their own. So I've been thinking about what question I wanted to ask you, and it's very obvious, but I think we all need this. What is your favorite SPF at the moment? Does not have an SPF. We are always looking for SPF brands that we can recommend. Give
Yes.
us yours because we trust your opinion on this.
Well, thank you. And I am in no way like the expert or know all, but I can tell you based off of my own experiences, I was introduced because of the Instagram account that I created. I was introduced to a brand called Melon Sun Care. And Melon is actually created, owned by a melanoma survivor herself. Her name is Brandy. Shout out to Brandy if she watches this. But she has some super amazing sunscreens that are available. And there's lotions, there's sprays, there's a mineral option. That is by far right now my favorite sunscreen that I'm using. I love to use it on my kids. And the best part, not only do I relate because she's a melanoma survivor, but also part of the proceeds from her sunscreens go to the MRF, Melanoma Research Foundation, which is super important to me, near and dear to my heart. So I love supporting her, love supporting Melon, and it's an amazing sunscreen. Super clean ingredients, that's important to me. And for anyone who cares about their skin, obviously, it's like fragrance free and just she doesn't have any of all the bad chemicals that are in so many
Yep.
sunscreens that make so many afraid to use them. So my favorite sunscreen
Okay.
on Sun Care.
Melon sunscreen. We're all going to go out and buy it now. I'm always looking
Yes.
for a new
I know.
sunscreen.
Well, and if you can't find it, it's linked on my website. So mellahomie.com.
Perfect.
It's my shameless.
Perfect. I love
Awesome.
it. Plug away. Thank you so much, Brianna. It was such a
Yes.
pleasure talking to you and hearing your story.
Thank you.
And hopefully we get to come back for more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me. I just can't.
I have to say,
Love y'all.
your scar here looks, we're not allowed to curse, are we? It looks badass. I mean, it's like so cool. I'm sorry, we might have to cut that later, but it's like, you look
Thank you.
so like fierce and warrior strong, and it's awesome. Thank you for
Thank
showing me.
you.
'Cause it was
I know.
really
Sometimes
cool.
I like to come up with like crazy stories when people ask me what happened. Like tell them, I don't know, shark attack or I was in a door fight. I don't know.
I
It's
love it.
pretty cool looking.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening. If today's story moved you, hit subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it.
We'll be back next time. Until then, don't hide, heal.